Bilbo Baggins and the Reluctant Adventure. The sun was setting behind the hills of the Shire, casting a warm golden glow over Bilbo Baggins' quaint hobbit hole. Bilbo sat by the fire, enjoying a quiet evening with a book in his lap and a cup of tea in hand. The peace of the moment, however, was shattered when a booming knock echoed from the front door. "Blast it!" Bilbo muttered to himself, setting his tea down and standing up to answer. He opened the door, and there stood Gandalf, the wizard whose habit of showing up at the most inconvenient times had long since worn out Bilbo's patience. "Gandalf!" Bilbo sighed, a mixture of dread and annoyance creeping into his voice. "What are you doing here? I've told you before, no adventures!" Gandalf scowled at him, a look of disapproval plastered across his face. "Bilbo Baggins, you little coward!" he roared, causing Bilbo to flinch. "You've been invited to the adventure of a lifetime, and here you are hiding like a frightened child in your little hobbit hole. Smaug's hoard isn't going to steal itself, you know." Bilbo's face turned pale. The mere mention of Smaug the great dragon sent a chill down his spine. "I'm not going, Gandalf. I'm comfortable here, thank you very much. This is where I belong." He took a step back, trying to close the door, but Gandalf was quick to plant his foot in the threshold. "No, no, no, Bilbo," Gandalf grumbled, a dark glint in his eyes. "You're coming with me. The dwarves are already on their way, and you, dear hobbit, are part of the plan whether you like it or not." Bilbo's face contorted in horror. "I can't. I'm not cut out for this kind of thing. I'm just a simple hobbit, and I don't want to face dragons and trolls and—" "Enough!" Gandalf bellowed, his voice shaking the walls of the hobbit hole. "Bilbo Baggins, you little coward! You think I don't know that? You think I didn't see the same fear in you that I saw in all those other great heroes who were scared out of their minds, but did what they had to do anyway?" Gandalf's voice dropped dangerously low. "I'm going to drag you out of here, if I have to, and you will regret it if you don't stop whining." Bilbo stood frozen, his lower lip trembling as tears began to well in his eyes. He'd never been this scared in all his life. But there was something about Gandalf's angry glare and the wizard's booming voice that made him feel as though escape was impossible. "But Gandalf—" "No buts, Bilbo," Gandalf snapped. "You are going to help the dwarves reclaim Erebor, and you will like it. I won't hear another word of this nonsense about staying home." He grabbed Bilbo's arm roughly and dragged him toward the door, but Bilbo pulled back, desperate. "I can't do it, Gandalf! I don't want to! I don't want to go!" With a growl of frustration, Gandalf threw Bilbo onto the floor. "Then I'll just make you go," he snarled. "You'll regret it if you don't. You'll regret not having the courage to stand up and fight for something bigger than yourself. Now, get up!" Bilbo scrambled to his feet, tears streaming down his face. "I can't! I'm not like them," he sobbed. Gandalf's patience had reached its limit. He grabbed Bilbo by the collar and shook him roughly. "You will be like them," he spat, his voice seething with annoyance. "You'll be more than that, you fool. You'll be a hero, or I'll make sure everyone knows what a coward you truly are." Bilbo's face went pale. He couldn't take it any longer. As Gandalf turned his back for a moment, Bilbo bolted. His heart raced as he dashed to the back of the hobbit hole, his feet pounding against the floorboards. He flung open the back window and crawled out, sneaking away into the darkness. "Bilbo!" Gandalf's voice echoed from inside. "Don't you dare!" But Bilbo was already running, tears blurring his vision as he sprinted across the grass. He didn't care where he went, as long as he was far away from that angry wizard. He had to get away. He had to get back to his peaceful life. But no sooner had he crossed the garden when a sharp pain erupted in the back of his head. The world spun, and the ground came up to meet him with terrifying speed. Bilbo collapsed, unconscious. The angry wizard had knocked Bilbo out with a terrible force. When Bilbo awoke, he found himself lying on a rough, cold floor with the smell of travel in the air. The first thing he noticed was that he wasn't in his cozy hobbit hole anymore. He sat up, blinking, and immediately spotted Gandalf standing nearby, looking more annoyed than ever. "Well, well," Gandalf muttered, crossing his arms over his chest. "Look who finally decided to wake up! You're lucky I didn't let the dwarves leave without you, Bilbo. The entire plan would have gone down the drain if you'd stayed in your little hole." Bilbo groaned, rubbing his head where Gandalf had hit the poor hobbit. What happened? Where are we?" "We're at the dwarves' camp, you fool," Gandalf snapped. "Now, get up and stop complaining. The sooner we get to Smog, the sooner this miserable adventure is over for you. I don't have time to babysit you any more." Bilbo winced as he stood, feeling dizzy. But I don't want to be here, Gandalf. I don't!" "Too bad," Gandalf cut him off, his tone dripping with sarcasm. "You're here, whether you like it or not. You're a burglar, aren't you? That's what you're supposed to be. You're supposed to steal things from dangerous places, Bilbo. Remember that? Remember when you agreed to this stupid quest? Well, now you're in the thick of it. So stop whining and get on with it." Bilbo looked at the dwarves around him, all of whom seemed too busy with their preparations to notice him. He felt smaller than ever, like a piece of dust on the edge of their grand adventure. Sam would have been right. He was a coward, a fool. But Gandalf was certainly no help at all. "All right, fine," Bilbo muttered, wiping his face. "Let's go steal from a dragon. Why not? Seems like the perfect way to spend the rest of my miserable life." Gandalf grinned, his eyes glinting with satisfaction. "That's the spirit. I knew you had it in you, Bilbo." Bilbo sighed, his shoulders slumping. If he had any choice in the matter, he would have been back home in the Shire, sitting by his fire, enjoying his tea.